Okay, Suman Babu ready? Everything ready, Suman Babu? Suman Babu, am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay, so we'll start the valedictory session, sir. Now time
Yes,
is
sir.
to start the valedictory session. So again, I welcome all the learned participants and all the honorable delegates, dignitaries. On behalf of Yogoda Satsang Palpara Mahavidyalaya, I mean internal quality assurance cell of the Mahavidyalaya, on behalf of the members of teaching and non-teaching staff, members of the governing body of the institution. I welcome all the learned participants, all the dignitaries, all the delegates who have devoted their valuable time for academic enlightenment, for having the brainstorming sessions on the topic digital transformation in higher education during COVID-19 pandemic. So I welcome you all again because of remaining with us. Now the time is the concluding session. So in this regard, I would like to request Dr. Tushar Kanti Mandal sir, member IQAC as well as head of the department economics of this Mahavidyalaya to present this 2 days report to 2 days activities in the form of report so that our participants will conceptualize the glimpses of the report. Now um, the time is for Dr. Tusarkanti Mandal sir for presentation of this 2 days webinar report. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. The two-day webinar, national webinar, NAAC sponsored national webinar, I must say, digitalization of higher education during COVID-19 period is going to end after a few hours. This is the valedictory session. I have the responsibility to brief the 2 days program before the audience. In the inaugural session yesterday, Professor Madhumangal Pal, Director IQAC of Vidyasagar University, has inaugurated the webinar by releasing the souvenir of the webinar. In this session, in his inaugural address, he conceptualized the digitalization of higher education. It focused on blended learning approach, development of teaching skill and competencies for the learners and teachers, development study in case of every learner, facility for the use of unlimited learning resources, multimedia access to education by highlighting the online channels introduced by Ministry of Education, Government of India. He also emphasized on the limitations of or drawbacks of the digitalization of higher education in India, such as availability of internet connection, availability of technologies for the socially and economically deprived students, training and orientation for the teachers on the uses of technological aids and appliances, cost effectiveness of the digital services, need of the digital classrooms, e-learning as a cause of social isolation, etc. In his concluding remark, he visualized on the paradigm shift from classical teaching learning process to digital teaching learning process. After that, in technical session 1, Professor Shivaprasad Odhikari, former Vice Chancellor, Pokemon University, Balasore, Odisha, extended his deliberation on the transformation in higher education through ICT and skill for India. In his presentation as the keynote speaker, he emphasized on the forces of change in the age of knowledge with focus on ICT. He has traced out the ancient higher education prevailed in Taxila and Nalanda and how India has proved as Sharna Prashu Bharat Ashram through the contribution of Indian stalwarts Sir C.V. Raman, Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, Srinivasa Ramanujan, Professor Satyendranath Bose, etc., in the field of literature, science, humanities, etc. He has focused on the role of universities in core and periphery perspectives with making comparison between India and European countries with reference to higher education. To him, there is the significant role of ICT and skills in higher education in bringing quality in higher education system. For this, stress should be given on quality higher education along with its quality parameters on value-added and need-based subjects like polytechnic, vocational training, language skill training, computer training, etc. He also highlighted on the work culture, research culture, and work culture to be the institutionalized through action research leading to quality research. In technical session 2, the first speaker, Professor Amiya Kumar Roth, Advisor, ICT, Eastern Region Coordinator, NAAC, Bengaluru, India, delivered his talk on assessment and accreditation as per the revised assessment framework, which has been effective from July 2017. In his presentation, he emphasized on vision, mission, and value framework of NAAC. He elaborated the assessment procedure meant for the universities, autonomous colleges, and affiliated colleges, with focusing on the 7 criteria, key indicators, both qualitative and quantitative metrics, and SSS data. In this presentation, we detailed the procedure of NAAC assessment from the submission of AQAs, IIQA, SSR, SSA data with indicating standard operating procedure SOP for each matrix, both qualitative and quantitative. He stressed on the quality parameters like seed money for teachers, workshop on intellectual property rights, number of PhD awarded under the teacher as the research supervisor, social responsibility activities through community collaboration, move with various organizations or agencies for doing different activities, integration of library management system, alumni engagement through formation of registered alumni association in doing different activities for the institution, faculty empowerment strategies, yearly performance appraisal report for both the teaching and non-teaching staff, internal and external audits, quality audits, human values and professional ethics, etc. Next, Professor Sapon Kumar Mishra was the resource person. Professor Sapon Kumar Mishra, Principal, Mugberia Gangadhar Mahavidyalaya, Mugberia East Midnapur, West Bengal, presented his lecture on digitalization of higher education in rural colleges, problems and prospects. In his brief presentation, he shared his views on several problems that has been faced by the teachers and students of rural India, likely poor internet connectivity, financial charges of internet connectivity that have to be borne by the poor students' families, online examination procedure, particularly malpractices done during examination process, etc. He has suggested some measures for the improvement of the present digital or e-learning process, especially emphasizing on blended mode of teaching. Professor Ashutosh Biswal was the next resource person. Professor Ashutosh Biswal, Department of Education, CAAC, Faculty of Education and Physiology, the MS University of Vadodara, Gujarat, has presented his talk on the challenges and digitalization of higher education in India. He highlighted on the lack of trained faculties to manage the digitalization of higher education process, professional collaboration, different approaches of evaluation, cost effectiveness of higher education, database system, online learning, personalized learning, and changing the vision of higher education in course of this discussion. In technical session 3, that is yesterday's last session, total 12 papers presented by the teachers, research scholars, students from different colleges and universities of different Indian states. The whole session is chaired by Professor Sudarshan Mishra, Head Department of Education, Ravenshaw University, Kotak, Odisha. In today's first session, that is technical session 4, Professor Gauranga Charan Nando, Vice Chancellor, Netaji Subhas University, Jamshedpur, Jharkhand, has delivered his talk on digital initiative in higher education during COVID-19 period. In his presentation, he articulated his experience on online teaching learning process. According to him, the online examination system has paved the way for malpractices and manipulation, and there was the demand of students for online examination. To him, the online teaching will be meaningful if there will be digital infrastructure, training for teachers, availability of technological aids for the students, need of the smart classroom, as we cannot ignore the online teaching now. Therefore, we have to accept the blended learning approach to tackle the situation always. He was also focused on the holistic education stated by the new education policies 2020, for which, along with the offline mode, the online means like MOOCs, Swayam platforms for CVT of teachers, Diksha platform for NCRT. For this, the teachers have to upgrade their skills and competencies in digital higher education. He has also emphasized on the NAAC accreditation of the higher education institution, adhering to quality enhancement in education. Therefore, the higher education institutions have to update their official website with adapting the best practices through the mobilization of unlimited learning resources available in online. He concluded his speech by saying the very statement that teacher and ICT will have to be the two faces of the same coin for the digitalization of higher education in India. In technical session 5, today's second session, total 11 papers presented by the teachers, research scholars, students from different colleges and universities of different states in India. The whole session chaired by Professor Anil Kumar Mahapatra and our principal sir, Professor P.K. Mishra. Professor Anil Kumar Mahapatra, Head Department of Political Science, Fakir Mohan University, Balasore. He was busy, and after his departure, Professor P.K. Mishra, principal of our institution, chaired the session. In technical session 6, that is the session before, Professor Rupa Dasgupta, Principal Debra Thana, Shohid Khudiram Smriti Mahavidyalaya, Debra, Paschim Mednipur, West Bengal, discussed about the digital tools in teaching learning process. She has discussed about the basic goals of digital teaching learning process. In this connection, she has also considered the four facts: ability, connectivity, techniques, and feasibility. She has also mentioned different apps and tools as communication part, especially social media apps. She emphasized on learning management system, database management system, and discussed how these are important in teaching learning process. Then she mentioned about different teaching and access platform like Google Meet, Zoom platform, WebEx, technique, etc. She has mentioned the problem related to enrollment of large number of students in Google Meet or other internet platform. As a way out, she mentioned Technique app, where the problem of large number of students can be solved. Lastly, she mentioned the resource and sharing and institutional repository system in his institution, and she mentioned the importance of virtual lab. Today's last speaker, Dr. Jyoti Shankar Pradhan, Associate Professor, Department of Education, Fakir Mohan University, Balasore, Odia, talked about the impact of COVID-19 in higher education. He expressed his personal views and experience during COVID-19 period. He discussed several problems and prospects of higher education during COVID-19 period. He mentioned about the positive way out of the problems and given emphasis on different digital learning platforms In his elaborate and thoughtful discussion, Dr. Pradhan has thrown light on importance of digitalization of teaching, learning, and research fields. One important thing to mention here is that total 197 participants registered themselves for participating and presenting papers in this webinar. Total 47 abstracts received by our institution, which has been published in the souvenir of this webinar. And in these 2 days, total 23 uh, papers are read. Uh, so this is the total report about the webinar. Thanks to all participants, speakers, paper presenters, my colleagues, organizing committee, and all other dignitaries. Last but not the least, my grateful thanks to our dynamic and enthusiastic principal, Sir Professor P.K. Mishra, whose motivational encouragement make the webinar a grand success. Thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Tushar Babu, for very comprehensive and lucid presentation of the report on the today's NAAC sponsored webinar. So we are with us. Really, it is giving me immense pleasure. After a very, very long time, I am watching my Guru of Gurus, Professor Aditya Prasad Padi, a very legendary figure. Sir, my namaskar to you, sir. My namaskar on my behalf, on behalf of Yogoda Satsanga Palpara Mahavidyalaya, I extend my profound gratitude. Sir, just after 5 minutes, we will listen your valuable speech. Now the time is to yield feedback from minimum 2 participants to give their feedback on this 2-day national webinar. Any maximum, any 2 participants?
You can speak.
Anybody? Okay. Okay, thank you. Now time is to listen the valuable speech of our honorable chief guest of the valedictory session. So before giving the platform to sir, let me give brief introduction about the scholarship and personality of this legendary figure for me, even if for the people of Odisha, for entire India, who is a very living and working element in my rating and visualization. Professor Aditya Prasad Padhi, former Vice Chancellor, Barampur University, Bhanjabihar, Barampur, Odisha, and now enjoying the status as member of Executive Committee, NAAC, Bengal, India. Sir, during his more than 40 years of teaching career, he has proved his excellence, proved his efficiency and proficiency in remaining different capacities. As having his parent subject as political science, he has started his teaching career in political science, and when he was professor and head in the Sambalpur University, he has been selected as Honorable Vice Chancellor for Barampur University. From that day, he has done a commendable effort in bringing different policy making, in having different programs, different reformative activities and efforts for bringing transformation in higher education. As we are focusing now, from the beginning, it was his brainchild that how transformation of higher education will be ensured. And during his tenure in Barampur University, he has given importance on RT Act. He has opened a paper on RT Act by realizing its importance and being a lifelong learner of political science in particular and social science in general. Apart from that, sir happened to be the member of search committee of so many universities across the India for selection of vice chancellors, and in the capacity as UGC nominee, as government nominee, as governor nominee. And if I'll say, if anybody is the eye opener for these quality enhancement activities, the quality assurance activities adhering to the role of NAAC, so Professor Aditya Prasad Padi will be the candid example for one and all. This gentleman has visited more than, I think, 250 institutions, including colleges and universities, in his credit as the chairman NAAC peer team visit. and now sir is enjoying the status. I have already told member of executive committee NAAC. And whenever any policy is being undertaken, any reformation are being undertaken, sir is definitely is consulted. And sir also happened 2 to 3 times as member UGC. Till now sir is searching again and again. Till now sir is learning again and again. He is always telling me in any time, always when I requested, sir, you will keep my request that you will be our chief guest in the valedictory session of our program. Now, okay, Pradeep, I will honor when you are saying, because he addresses me as his son in research. When he is telling me, now, okay, I will honor your in spite of whatever may be my busy schedule, whatever be my health condition, Pradeep, I will definitely grace the occasion as the chief guest. Chief guest, sir, I have no words to express your unconditional love, affection, and belongingness towards me, and your blessings is always with me. This is my ultimatum to you, sir. Your blessings, for your blessings, I am going ahead and ahead. So now this time is to request this legendary figure of India, Professor Aditya Prasad Padhi, sir, to have his speech before the August audience. Sir, please, the platform is yours, sir. Welcome, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Honorable President of Yogoda Satsanga College, Palpara, Medinipur district, worthy Principal Dr. P.K. Misra, Dr. Tushar Kanti Mandal, Dr. Madhumangal Pal, Director IQAC, Dr. Aniruddha Sinha, member of the IQAC, members of the teaching staff, participants from various parts of the country, researchers, and students and other stakeholders. First of all, I take this opportunity in congratulating the college governing body and the principal, all stakeholders for selecting this topic and organizing this seminar sponsored by NAAC. This topic is academically useful, fruitful, rewarding, as well as socially relevant. I have very carefully listened to the presentation, and I am very glad that participants have covered almost all areas, starting from Dr. Adhikari through Professor Rath of NAAC, who is our IT expert, and other speakers, both old and new. This digital transformation in higher education owing to COVID-19 pandemic is a theme which really requires careful discussion. I would suggest that Principal Misra may ask the participants who have presented papers to improve their papers in the light of discussions you have had, and then publish it both in the form of a souvenir, and the same content can be also in the form of a book, because no extra printing charge would be necessary except use of additional papers. COVID-19 pandemic has forced all educational institutions throughout the world to migrate to online environments with different degrees of difficulty and success. I repeat, it has forced us. Those institutions who had some organizational and infrastructural facilities, they could get early benefits, but others have joined in the process. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. My young friends, particularly research scholars, students, young teachers of the college and universities, are better off than us, older people. Digital technologies are among the few winners in COVID-19 times. I recollect in my own state of Odisha, Kids University had already had infrastructural facilities on online classes. So they could surpass other institutions, not only of Odisha, but also of the whole country. Restriction on face-to-face contact have meant that many of us have retreated to the confines of our homes and moved our lives online. It should therefore be no surprise that forecasting company research and markets estimates that global spend on digital transformation will be double, almost $500 billion in 2020 to more than $1 trillion in 2025. So this gives us the magnitude of the change that is forthcoming. Higher education institutions are among those organizations who have been forced to reconfigure their activities as a result of the pandemic. Those who had already begun the process of digital transformation, like our Kids University, have found the transaction easier than others. The difference between higher education institutions' success or otherwise in moving online depends on their digital readiness and resilience, which in turn depends on their digital transformation strategy. I hope some papers on strategies also presented in the seminar. Digital transformation is an ongoing process with strategies, digitalization and digital technologies helping organizations to stay competitive and enhancing consumer experience, a destination rather than a journey. It is business-led and technology-enabled. Digital transformation strategies in higher education institutions can be scaled to include internal operation, strategic imperatives, outreach, research, innovation, finance, employment, engagement. So almost all areas. To make digital transformation a success, analysis revealed the importance of higher education institutions having a relevant and workable digital transformation strategy. Again, some points have been raised by some of the participants in their papers about the strategy, transformation, digital transformation strategy, which is very important, which is aligned to the institution's vision, mission, and goals. The digital transformation is a long process which comprises moving from physical to digital formats, then using technologies to improve processes, and finally leveraging all the opportunities digitalization offers. Recognizing that universities often work in silos, digital transformation strategies must be more inclusive and involve key players and stakeholders in a cultural trust. This is important. Understanding, agility, and safety. If a higher education institution wants to attract and retain students in a post-corona world, they will need to articulate and showcase their technological savviness, innovation capacity, and futuristic look and feel. It is where the education institutions have to plan their strategies. To succeed, higher education institutions must also align their organizational structure and culture to their digital transformation strategy. Only organization is not enough. We have to include culture as well. Digital transformation is a mindset. It is about thinking and acting digitally, accepting digitalization, and creating an organizational towards creating an orientation towards digitalization. So those of us who are above 60 years of age, our mindset must undergo a change. Otherwise, we will be the losers. The process involves profound changes. I repeat, profound changes in teaching methodologies. Those of you who have been using this various methodology online must be knowing it better than me. Competencies and assessment. So some staff may resist. You must have experienced this in your institution. Research suggests that staff must be empowered by being given the right tools, technologies, and training. Post-pandemic, even if face-to-face teaching returns, most higher education institutions will continue to incorporate some degree of online learning. If you have been listening to the chairman of the University Grants Commission, who has been emphasizing the online methodology training, and now it is almost 60% online and 40% offline. So this is how we have to prepare ourselves. So Professor Waller finds that digital transformation may demand a change management strategy. This is important. Change management strategy, which incorporates the need for a change behaviors. Higher education institutions also interact with the society, and for example, the quality of a country's higher education institution can affect its political and socio-economic status. You must be listening to Prime Minister Modi, how he has been emphasizing on digitalization aspect repeatedly in various lectures. So Professor Wallace argues that those such things as social media, webinars, virtual workshops, educational institutions can empower citizens in other countries to use digital technologies. Digital transformation can also enable faculties to engage with other faculties and organizations worldwide. Now, Professor Mandal and Professor Pal can talk to their counterparts in London and Washington sitting in your own college. There is no difficulty. You can listen to them, they can listen to you. So this is the advantage. So why lose the advantage? Colleges must prepare themselves by changing their strategy towards this. With digital transformation is about how people use technology rather than the technologies themselves. Research suggests that digital technologies can make education more efficient, scalable, and accessible. So if this is the findings of research which I have located, well, why not make use of this new advantage? Higher educational institutions have to ensure that they choose appropriate technology and innovation which brings benefits to commensurate with the cost that they are spending. The best way for colleges and universities to approach digital transformation is to employ human-centric design methodology. I don't have the time to explain this. I repeat, human-centric design methodology, a problem-solving methodology to help design to an interactive system which focus on users' behaviors and needs. This is the strategy the educational institutions should take initiative. Human-centric design, I again repeat, human-centric design is therefore the identification and understanding of human desires, context, needs to facilitate development of better concepts, interfaces, system, tools, and more importantly, a better experience for users whether these users are students, faculty, staff, or even society. Though higher education institutions are at different stages on their digital transformation journeys, we have listened to some papers from rural colleges. They have pointed out their difficulties. So different problems are there, human desires, context, uh, sorry. Though higher education institutions at different stages on their digital transformation journey, significant lessons can be learned from others' experience of implementing digital transformation for higher education and becoming digital education institutions. So in West Bengal, those colleges which are having a good infrastructural facilities can take the lead and initiative in training other colleges, rural colleges, tribal colleges. Digital technology can support the general goals of higher education institutions, namely teaching, research, societal outreach, provide them with capabilities, knowledge, tools to meet students' current and future expectations. They will also need to implement digital transformation strategies if they are to survive. This is warning to those institutions who are not willing to, adopt this digital transformation. For survival also, they have to do it, if not for further progress. Digital transformation can help to configure and reconfigure the business process of higher education institutions and bring them into the digital age once they have identified the right strategy. So it is a question of choosing the right strategy. COVID-19 pandemic, because the topic is COVID-19 during and after. So COVID-19 pandemic has made the world stand still on the path of development. All the sectors and all the communities of the globe has been affected so badly that if the pandemic ends now, it will take years to catch the momentum that they were experiencing in their usual functioning prior to the outbreak of the pandemic. As such, there is no hope of pandemic getting ended now. It is spreading in Maharashtra. We have seen the picture and newspaper. Hence, recovery from damages by the pandemic, which have been intensified day by day, may need a very extended time frame. This is what we have to build our strategy. If the pandemic will continue, our strategy would be something different. Even if it is ending, our strategy would be a little different. So two sectors of any economy that matter most are education and health. I would conclude because Professor Mishra has given me 15 minutes time. Pandemic has distorted the health sectors directly as multiple lakhs of people are becoming prey of the deadly virus. Education sector is devastated indirectly as well as directly as to check the spread of COVID-19. All the education institutions are closed. Examinations of the ongoing semesters and terms are postponed indefinitely. Evaluation process of the classes for which examinations are completed has not been started yet. Now it is starting. Commencement of new sessions has already been delayed, and private educational institutions will suffer a lot as they are unable to generate revenue either from the fresh admission or from the existing students. Students are not willing to pay their fees unless proper classes are held and labs are open so that they can take advantage. Anyway, so in brief, I have tried because a valedictory session is not a functional session. Valedictory session is a ceremonial session. It is a session where we have to enjoy the fruits of research and the writings which the participants have presented to us. And Professor Mandal has presented a gist of the list of all participants. I take this opportunity once again to congratulate Professor Mishra and all his colleagues, researchers, students, president of the governing body, members of the governing body, students, all deserve our appreciation, praise and thanks. I wish and pray Almighty God that the state of West Bengal will again take the lead in this area of digital transformation so that our students will get the benefit, also researchers. With these few words, I thank all of you again for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir, for your resourceful and forward-looking presentation. Really, it has enlightened us, all the participants, including me, to how to actualize, how to capitalize and materialize this significance and importance of digitalization or digital transformation of higher education in India. And really, sir, from the very beginning of your speech, you have focused, you have already told that in course of your presentation, you have told that digital transformation of higher education by taking India as a case is an old wine in new bottle. No doubt, with the upheaval of this COVID-19 pandemic, we have faced with the difficulties and success. We are having success stories, although we have faced a great number of difficulties, hurdles, or stumbling blocks. But in that difficulties, some successful outcomes has come. And you have already rightly pointed out that change is the law of life. Really, sir, change the law of life or change the law of nature. We have to adjust with the situation, whatever situation is coming. And by taking the example of different universities, you have told that there is the importance of digital readiness to adopt the digital transactional strategies. Really, sir, there is the significance of digital transactional strategies. And to highlight all these digital transactional strategies, we have to change our educational system as an unit of development. In which you have focused on two things by taking the institution as a case of implementation. The thing is that we have to make change, we have to bring radical change in the organizational structure, in the organizational get-up of the higher educational institution in one point. In another point, we have to change the organizational climate of the institution. You have rightly covered all these things. We must have digital infrastructure. We must have good social infrastructure. Our human resources, or our teaching faculties, or our members of teaching and non-teaching staff must be well acquainted with the implication of, with the use and implication of ICT. And you have focused on the things that from that point, we cannot ignore the online learning system. In this perspective, I want to highlight, sir, there is the importance of the highly exigency of blended learning, that is the combination of both offline and online approach. And in course of your discussion, in your presentation, adhering to the UGC circulars, now we are empowered to adopt that 60% online learning and 40% offline learning. Whatever may be the situation, we have to adjust to the situation, and our students will be acquainted, our teachers must be acquainted, they must be acquainted about the transactional strategies, so that any pandemic may come, we will be ready to face the situation. And you are focused to bring change in the management strategy, in total system, in the entire governance. We have to bring changes so that any problem in this regard will come, we have to face, as well as we have to accept digital transformation of higher education in India as a process, and we have to accelerate this process. And you have rightly focused on the very good approach, sir, that is human-centric design methodology. That is really, sir, this is essential. This is the very big thing, and it has always importance. It is a very everlasting concept. Our faculty members, our entire teaching community should understand the importance, as it is essential to identify the human desires for their development. When the human desires will be expressed, when the human potentialities will be manifested, definitely there will be individual development. And when there will be individual development, it will result in social development. As we are saying in the previous discussion, the present context, we have to accept the nexus that ICT in one point and teacher in another point. Teacher, we cannot say that teacher is second to none. There are each, and there will be the importance of the teacher for all times to come. But teacher must be transparent, teacher must be effective, teacher must be resourceful. If you will adhere that UGC of ICT, use of ICT in the higher educational system. That's why we are telling now ICT and teacher are two faces of the same coin. And you have rightly focused the two major things, two major aspects of human development or societal development. One is education, another is health. Without education and health, there will be no identity of a man, there will be no identity of a race, there will be no identity of a society, there will be no identity of a community, then a nation, then on all the countries of the world. Even if the entire world, sir, the entire world is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So very nice presentation. I owe my gratitude again on behalf of me, on behalf of IQAC of this Mahavidyalaya, on behalf of the governing body of this college. And I expect, I pray, Lord Jagannath, your long live in this cosmos, sir, and your guidance. You will be one of the torch bearers for tending the institution into greater heights. Thank you so much, sir, remaining with us in spite of busy schedule. Thank you so much again, sir. Have a great day for all you. All Jai Jagannath, sir. Thank you. Now the time is to wind up the session. Now I would like to request Dr. Aniruddha Sinha, coordinator of IQAC and organizing secretary of the webinar, to extend the vote of thanks of the valedictory session. Now over to Dr. Sinha.
Thank you, sir. Good day, everyone. I, Dr. Aniruddha Sinha, Assistant Professor of Department of Mathematics, as well as the coordinator of IQAC, feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks speech on behalf of the entire institution. I like to thank all honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence. At first, I'd like to thank our honorable principal, sir, Professor Pradipta Kumar Mishra, for his constant guidance and support to set the webinar. On behalf of the organizing committee, I convey deep regards and heartily thanks to our honorable chief guest, Professor Aditya Prasad Padhi, former Vice Chancellor, Beharampur University, and member of Executive Committee of NAAC, Bengaluru, for taking out time for his busy schedule. Sir, you gave deep insight into the topics of this webinar. I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Professor Shiva Prasad Adhikari, former Vice Chancellor, FM University, Bhasavihar, Odisha. Professor Gauranga Charan Nanda, Vice Chancellor, Netaji Subhash University, Jharkhand. Professor Amiyo Kumar Rao, Advisor, NAAC, Bengaluru. Professor Ashutosh Bishwal, Faculty of Education and Psychology, the MAG University of Barda. Professor Shravan Kumar Mishra, Principal of Mugberia Gangadhar, Mahavidyalaya, Purba Mendipur, West Bengal. Professor Rupa Das Gupta, Principal of Debra Thana Sahid Khudiram Sriti Mahavidyalaya, Paschim Mendipur, West Bengal. Dr. Jyoti Shankar Pradhan, Associate Professor, Department of Education, FM University, Bhasavihar, Odisha. Not only for their vital time, but also enlighten us their adoring worth and commendable relevant speech. I need to mention my deepest sense of appreciation to Dr. Tusharkanti Mondal, member of IQAC, for his own ideas and elegance of explanation of the report of this webinar. My hearty thanks to Dr. Orendam Pal, Assistant Professor of Physics, Professor Shubhan Mondal, Assistant Professor of Computer Science, Mr. Sudipta Das, SAC Teacher in the Department of Geography, Dr. Orendam Das, SAC Teacher in the Department of English, for the technical cooperation. A special thanks to Professor Srimoyi Roy, Assistant Professor in English, for her spectacular anchoring in the digital platform. On behalf of this institution, I would like to give a special thanks to NAAC for their financial support and make the webinar successful. I would like to thank everyone, teaching, non-teaching staff, my students, for their participation and mobility to make the success of this webinar. Finally, I solicit your continuous support and encouragement to march forward in quest for knowledge. Thank you once again, sir. Now I am requesting our honorable principal to conclude this webinar.
Okay, yes, with permission from honorable chief guest, sir, let the session be concluded. Thank you. Have a great day for all.